Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into a topic that's really shaking things up in higher education. AI content tools. It's one of those areas with massive potential, but also some pretty serious challenges. On the one hand, AI could personalize learning, give super quick feedback, make education more flexible, more accessible. It can even automate tasks, freeing up instructors to, well, actually teach. But then there's the flip side. Tools like ChatGPT, they pose a real risk to academic integrity. I mean, they can write almost anything. They're incredibly hard to spot with old methods, and they're evolving so fast. So our mission here is to really unpack how these things work, look at the surprising reality of detecting them, and share some practical ways to stay ahead. We're basing this on a really thorough document, Preventing AI Content Tools in Higher Education, which has loads of good instructional design ideas and tech insights.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it isn't just about the what, it's about the why. Why are these tools making such waves? And crucially, how can institutions respond effectively? Our source uses ChatGPT as the main example, mostly because it's, well, arguably the most sophisticated right now. But it's worth remembering that others, like Google's Bard or Microsoft's Bing AI, they're built on similar foundations, similar models. So understanding ChatGPT gives you a really solid grasp of the whole landscape.
Okay, let's get into it then. How do these AI content tools actually work? I mean, fundamentally. At their core, they're generative, right? They create new stuff based on instructions and the info they've learned. And they learn from just insane amounts of data, billions of internet resources. I think websites, articles, papers, everything. Plus, they're always getting better through machine learning. But what makes ChatGPT stand out? Why does it sound so human?
Yeah, that's the key. It writes just like a human because it wasn't just trained on a massive text data set, one of the biggest ever, actually. It was also refined meticulously with feedback from human experts. That refinement is crucial.
And the range of things it can write, it's kind of staggering. Essays? Sure, any length. Test answers. But also jokes, poems, music, screenplays, resumes, cover letters. It even writes and debugs computer code.
It really is astonishing.
And here's a real eye-opener. ChatGPT has passed some incredibly tough exams. We're talking MBA finals, law school exams, the bar exam, even the GRE and SAT medical school finals, and the whole three-part U.S. medical licensing exam.
Pass them. Yeah, that really puts its capabilities into perspective, doesn't it? And using it is, well, deceptively simple.
Yeah.
You just type in a prompt, basically an instruction, and it gives you a response.
But the magic is in the prompting, right? How detailed you can just...
Precisely. That's where the power lies.
Yeah.
You can tell exactly what you want. Like specify the length, word count, paragraph count. You can dictate the format, short paragraphs, bullet points, numbered lists, even sentence structure, like use short, choppy sentences.
Wow. And the tone, too.
Absolutely. Formal, informal, funny, serious, you name it. You can tell it to include or exclude specific words or phrases, limit word frequency. You can even tell it who it should write as, like a doctor persona, and who the target audience is.
So the more detailed the prompt?
The more tailored the response. And those highly tailored responses, they become incredibly difficult for plagiarism checkers to flag.
Which brings up that common question, are these tools just plagiarizing, copying and pasting?
It's a good question, but the source is clear. No, they don't plagiarize in the traditional sense. Think about how you learn. You read articles, textbooks, you listen to lectures.
Right, you absorb it, connect ideas.
Exactly. You don't just parrot it back word for word, usually. You understand it, make connections, apply it in new ways. ChatGPT works kind of like that, but, on a massive scale. It processes information, refines its understanding from feedback, and then generates original content based on the specific prompt.
And that process, making connections, generating something new, that's what makes it sound so human-like.
That's right. And that's why it's so hard for plagiarism checkers to catch. It's not copying, it's creating.
Okay, so if it's creating original text, what does that mean for actually detecting it? How well do plagiarism checkers stack up? I mean, how do they even work generally? They compare text against databases, right?
Yeah, that's the basic idea. They compare submitted text against huge databases of existing content, web pages, academic papers, etc. Some look for exact matches, some are better at finding paraphrasing, and now a few are specifically designed to try and detect AI writing styles.
But the big question is, how accurate are they? Especially against something like ChatGPT.
Well, the source document actually describes a test they ran to find out. They gave ChatGPT 3 different prompts, each with more detail than the last.
Okay.
Then they took the responses and ran them through 10 different plagiarism checkers. This included some of the newer AI-specific ones, general web tools, even popular browser extensions. and they recorded the median plagiarism score.
And what did they find? Were the checkers consistent?
Not exactly. That was one of the key findings: inconsistency. For example, one checker marked everything as 0% plagiarized, like nothing. Another one marked everything, even text they knew was human written specifically for the test, as 99.9% plagiarized.
Wow, that doesn't inspire much confidence.
Not really. It shows there's a real reliability issue there. But looking at the prompt types was revealing too. Prompt 1 was super basic. Define macroeconomics. The response was pretty generic.
And the checkers caught that one.
Mostly, yes. It was largely flagged as AI or having significant similarity scores. Makes sense, right? Very generic topic. But prompt 2 added more detailed instructions for a specific tone, using an analogy.
And that made a difference.
A big difference. The median plagiarism score dropped significantly. The AI's response was already harder to detect. Then came prompt 3. This one was really specific. A tight word count, only 50 words, use an analogy. And critically, specific words and phrases to avoid.
Okay, really boxing the AI in. What happened then?
The result. The content generated from that prompt was scored as almost entirely human, written by most of the checkers.
That is quite something. So just adding a few specific constraints can basically fool the detectors.
It seems that way, yes. Especially the negative constraints telling it what not to include. That forces a more unique output.
So if even sophisticated checkers struggle this much, particularly with detailed prompts, how on earth are educators supposed to tackle AI misuse effectively? Relying on detection tools seems shaky at best.
Exactly. It really pushes us beyond just trying to catch students. We have to think differently.
Which leads us perfectly into the next part. If detection is so limited, what are the practical strategies? The source mentioned instructional design and technology solutions.
That's right. A two-pronged approach.
Let's start with instructional design. What can teachers actually change in their assignments?
Well, one big recommendation is shifting away from, or at least supplementing, those traditional long-form essays. Instead, focus on shorter responses. But the key is tying those responses very tightly to specific course materials, things the AI wouldn't easily have access to or context for.
Can you give an example?
Sure, the source gives a good one. Imagine students have reviewed 2 very specific case studies in class, say, one on ABC organization using Six Sigma for quality assurance, and another on XYZ company implementing agile methods. Instead of asking for a general essay on QA or Agile, you'd ask specific questions that force them to compare those 2 exact cases. Questions that require critical thinking about those specific scenarios, asking for their opinions, their reasoning, based only on those materials.
Ah, I see. The AI wouldn't have the detailed context of those specific fictional or niche case studies?
Precisely. It lacks the grounding in the unique course content, so its answers would likely be generic or just plain wrong.
That makes a lot of sense. What else on the instructional design side?
Another simple but effective tip is setting time limits for assignments once a student starts them online. It reduces the window for someone to go off, generate content, and paste it back in seamlessly.
These design changes seem smart, but playing devil's advocate. If we move too far away from longer essays, are we potentially losing something in terms of developing sustained writing skills?
That's a really important point. It's definitely a balancing act. The idea isn't necessarily to eliminate all long-form writing, especially where developing that skill is a core learning objective. It's more about strategically incorporating these AI-resistant assignment types, where appropriate, diversifying assessment methods rather than a wholesale replacement, making assessment more robust overall.
Okay, that makes sense. Balance is key. Now, what about the technology solutions? You mentioned AI and human oversight working together.
Yes, the tech side focuses on creating a more secure assessment environment, often using a blend of AI monitoring and human review. One feature is smart voice detection. The system can listen for wake words, "Hey Siri, Alexa, OK Google," and if detected during an exam, it can record and transcribe the audio. Helps prevent using voice assistants.
Okay, clever.
Browser Guard is a big one. It basically locks down the student's browser during an assessment. It prevents them from accessing other websites, applications, browser extensions, specifically blocking known AI writing tools. But importantly, it can be configured to allow access to specific necessary resources, like an online PDF of a case study or lecture notes, while blocking everything else.
So controlled access, that's useful.
Then there's device detection systems that can identify if a student is trying to use a cell phone or another unauthorized device during the assessment. Also, disabling keyboard shortcuts, like copy and paste. If a student tries to paste content, it gets flagged. Stops them pasting in pre-written AI stuff.
Right, blocks the direct input.
And finally, there's webcam monitoring. This serves multiple purposes. It can scan the room initially for forbidden resources, phones, notes, other people, and it monitors the student's behavior throughout the exam via webcam, recording it. This helps catch cheating attempts using external devices or getting help from someone else in the room.
That sounds quite comprehensive, almost like a digital lockdown, but managing all that tech, especially for big universities, seems like it could be a challenge.
It definitely requires solid infrastructure and support, yeah. The source does imply that seamless integration is important. It's not just buying the tech, it's making it work smoothly. And often these features are bundled together in proctoring solutions. Honorlock is mentioned as an example that combines many of these. It uses AI to do the initial monitoring, flagging potentially suspicious behavior based on patterns it's learned.
So the AI does the first pass.
Exactly, it's the tireless watcher. But then, if the AI flags something concerning, it alerts a live human proctor. That proctor can then review the situation in real time, look at the webcam feed, the screen recording, whatever's relevant, and decide if intervention is needed.
Ah, so it's AI flagging human judging.
Precisely. It leverages AI for scale and efficiency, but keeps human judgment for nuance and final decisions. It's that blend that makes it powerful and adaptable. It's really quite a shift from older, more static methods. It's almost like a digital guardian, constantly learning and adapting. It's fascinating how far this tech has come, really.
And there are other supporting features too, I assume.
Oh, yeah. Things like detailed reports after the exam with timestamp recordings of any flagged incidents, 24/7 live support for students and faculty, often flat-rate pricing models, browser locking we mentioned, even searching the web for leaked test questions. And crucially, integration with the university's existing learning management system, like Canvas or Blackboard and other third-party exam platforms. That integration is key for usability.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the big takeaway seems to be that these AI tools, they're powerful, getting more so, and they're not going away. The challenge for higher education isn't just about detection anymore, which is clearly difficult. It's more about adapting how we teach, how we assess, and smartly using technology to support academic integrity.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental shift. And it leads to a final thought, something for you listening to consider. As AI continues this rapid pace of learning and evolution, how might our very definitions of original thought and academic integrity need to evolve too? How do we ensure learning remains truly meaningful in this new landscape?